Now I am talking about advantage and disadvantage of self-pollination. Advantage of self-pollination. Advantage of self-pollination which leads to self-fertilization has greater reliability, particularly in those cases where individuals of a species are few and separated by long distance. It has the advantage that the process is not depend on any external agency for delivery of pollen to the stigma. Hence, there are less chances of failure of pollination. Moreover, there is a very little wastage of pollen grain. Furthermore, self-pollination maintains purity of the species for indefinite period of time as there is no mixing of characters. It is used to obtain pure lines character, that is homozygosity, during breeding experiment. Self-pollination strengthens the better character of the plant and their flower need not be large and showy. Now I am talking about disadvantages. Continuous self-pollination means self-fertilization is the extreme form of inbreeding and can result in loss of vigor in offsprings. Furthermore, useful characters are not introduced in the progeny. Vigor and vitality of the races decrease with prolonged self-pollination. As there is no hybrid vigor, the adaptability to change environment are also reduced. Now I am talking about cross pollination. Transfer of pollen grain from the anther of a flower from one plant to the stigma of the flower on another plant is called cross pollination, that is xenogamy or allogamy. Allos means different, gamos means marriage. Cross pollination is a device to bring about genetic recombination and variation. Now I am talking about controversies or adaptation for cross pollination, that is outbreeding devices. Effort to avoid self fertilization. Continued self pollination result in inbreeding depression. Thus, flowering plants have developed many contrivances to discourage self pollination and to encourage cross pollination. There are main controversies for cross pollination are: first, self sterility or self incompatibility. It is a condition where pollen of a flower either do not grow at all or grow very slowly if they fall on the stigma of the same flower. This prevents self-fertilization. Second one is dichogamy. Maturation of pollen and stigma of a flower at different times is said to be dichogamy. When the stigma becomes receptive before the pollen of the same flower are mature, as in Magnolia, Aristolochia, the condition is said to be protogyny. On the other hand, when anthers shed their pollens before the stigma of same flower is receptive, as is Salvia, Gossypium, Helianthus, etc., the condition is known as protandry. In nature, protandrous flowers are much more common than protogynous flowers. Dichogamy is a device to avoid self-pollination. Number 3. Hercogamy. In some bisexual flowers, the structure of anthers and style is such that autogamy is mechanically impossible. This condition is known as hercogamy. In many Caryophyllaceae, for example, the style is much longer than the stamen and as such the pollen fail to reach the stigma. Similarly, in Gloriosa, the anther dehiscens at a distance so that the stigma is out of reach of its own pollen. Fourth one is heterostyly. It refers to dimorphic flower which has style of different length. The classical example of heterostyly is Primula vulgaris, where two types of flowers occur. Number 1, long style flower which possesses a long style that stand high above the anther, and number 2, short style flower which have short style and that stand well below the anthers. Number 5, unisexuality. Another device to prevent self-pollination is the production of unisexual flowers. If both male and female flowers are present on the same plant, such as castor and maize, that is monoecious, it prevents autogamy but not geitonogamy. However, in papaya, male and female flowers are present on different plants. This condition prevents both autogamy and zygogamy. Now I am talking about agencies of pollination. Based on pollinating agent, the cross-pollination is of three types: anemophily by wind, zoophily by animals, and hydrophily by water. Anemophily and their adaptation. It is a chance phenomena where a pollen may reach the right stigma through wind. In anomalous plant, a large amount of pollen is produced, but considerable wastage of pollen takes place. Pollen grain in wind-pollinated plants are small, light in weight, smooth, non-sticky and dry to be carried to long distances. There are some special devices in such plant to catch wind-borne pollen. As in grasses, the stigma becomes large and feathery. Another condition helping in wind pollination is versatile nature of stamen in some plants that allow free movement of anther to shake off pollen in the air. The striking example includes cereals, grasses, mulberry, typha, oak, etc. Second one is zoophily. Animals are involved in carrying out pollination based on the animal involved. Zoophily is of many subtypes. Number 1, entomophily. Insects such as bee, flies, wasp, moth and beetle are chief pollinator. Out of these, the most common pollinator is bee. All insect pollinated flowers contain nectar. Bee visit the flower for nectar and in turn bring about pollination. This is according with the principle quid pro quo, something for something. Bees are color blind to red and mostly visit yellow, violet and purple colored flowers. Entomophilous flowers are colored for attracting the insect. Moths are attracted toward the white flowers. Reddish flower attract butterfly and wasp. Flowers are generally large in size so that they can seen from a distance. Flower also produce a specific odor to attract the insect, and many of the flowers having landing platform for insects. Pollen may also be covered by a yellow sticky substance called pollen kit. Example of some entomophilous flowers are: number 1, salvia. The flower of salvia show lever mechanism or turnpipe mechanism for bee pollination. The flower of salvia has bi-lobed corolla with 2 stamens attached to it. Only half of each anther is fertile. The sterile half of both the anther jointly form a sterile plate that is placed above the lower lip at the mouth of a flower. As the bee lands on the lower lip to extract the nectar, it pushes. As the bee lands on the lower lip to attract the nectar, it pushes against the sterile plate that brings down the fertile anther to touch it back, adhering pollen thereon. When a bee with pollen attached on its body visits another flower, it back rubs against the stigma to perform pollination. Second example is Aristolochia. The flowers of this plant have odor similar to decaying tobacco and humus. Due to this odor, the flies are attracted towards it and trapped. The method of pollination is termed fly trap mechanism. The flower of Aristolochia has long perianth tube and flies enter into it with the help of deflexed hairs but cannot escape from it. Pollen may be deposited on flies. Later on, the hair in the floral tube wither and the tube bends backward to facilitate the exit of flies. Such flies laden with pollen bring about pollination when they visit another flower. Next example is ficus. In the plant of Ficus carica, the pollination is effected through a wasp, Blastophaga clostrium. This plant has hypanthodium inflorescence. There are 3 types of sessile flower which are closely aggregated, 1 type of male flower and 2 types of female flowers. The female flower are long styled and short styled gallflower. There is a small opening called ostiole for the entry of wasp. The wasp lay the egg inside ovule of gallflower. The larvae develop from egg and they easily come out from within. In this act, pollen are attached to the body of wasp and such a wasp bring about pollination when it visits another inflorescence. Now I am repeating agents and types of cross-pollination. Since cross-pollination involves the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower, it is dependent upon external agencies. The various agencies which aid in cross-pollination may be classified into two broad categories, abiotic and biotic. The abiotic agents include non-living agents like air, water, etc. And biotic agents are living organisms such as insects, birds, bat, snail, etc. There are different type of agents like wind. Pollination by wind is known as anemophily. Transfer of pollen grain through wind is known as anemophily. The plants which are adapted to anemophily have usually unclear flower and versatile anther which can swing freely by air currents. The pollen grains are usually smooth-walled, relatively light, small and dry, so that they can be easily blown away by wind. They are produced in large quantities as much of the pollen grain are lost in transit. The stigma of anemophilous flower are comparatively large and protruding, sometimes branched and often feathery. Plants like palm, grasses and sedges are pollinated by wind. Wind-pollinated flowers often have a single ovule in each ovary and numerous flowers packed into an inflorescence. In maize plant, cluster of male flowers, that is tassels, are borne terminally and female inflorescence, that is copes, occur laterally at lower nodes. The silk of copes which projects beyond the protective leaves comprises stigma. As anther burst, a cloud of dust-like pollen grain float in the air. Some of these pollen are caught by protruding stigma and thus pollination is brought about. Now I am repeating entomophily, means pollination by insect. Transfer of pollen grain through the agency of insect is known as entomophily. Angiosperm as a whole are more dependent on insects like bees, butterfly, flies, beetle, wasp, moth, etc. for pollination than any other agency. Insect can carry a small amount of pollen from the anther of one flower and deposit it on the stigma of another flower. They visit flower in search of pollen, sac or nectar. Entomophilous flower undergo several adaptations to attract insect. They develop large and brightly colored petal, scent or nectar. Small flowers like those of Asteraceae are grouped into clear inflorescence to attract insects. Some flowers like Queen of Night emit a strong odor at night and these are pollinated by moths which are active during night. The flowers pollinated by flies and beetles secrete foul odor to attract these insects. The pollen grain of entomophilous flowers are sticky or have spinous outgrowth on the axine. The stigma of these flowers are also sticky. Some flowers like those of Anagallis, Hyacinthus and Verbascum secrete juicy or sticky substance which causes pollen to adhere to the body of insect. In insect pollinated flowers, the position of anther and stigma is such that the insect while visiting the flower of food means pollen, nectar, etc. get dusted with pollen grains and when the same insect visit another flower, its body comes in contact with the stigma of that flower which almost uttering certainty. Pollen are thus transferred to the stigma. In Salvia, versatile anthers and other balancing features help in dusting of insect with pollen. In case of Amorphophilus, which is tallest flower about 180 cm in height, insect lay egg in the flower and carry out pollination. In Yucca, pollination is carried out by a moth, Pronuba yuccacella, which lay eggs in the locules of the ovary and eventually the flower get pollinated. Yucca Glunska insulate the intimate relationship between a specialized pollinator and his equally specialized flower. Yucca flower opens for a few days and produce a good quantity of nectar to attract the insect. Of all the insects that visit its flower, the only one that can accomplish pollination are the moth, Tigaticula yuccacilla or Promula yuccacilla. Moths spend a good part of their life inside the flower of yucca. The larvae of moth feed on seed of this plant. Moth cannot complete their life cycle without the association of flower of yucca. In turn, the moth bring about pollination. The yucca plant and the moth co-evolved, that is, they developed an intimate connection with each other. It is obligate mutualism in which if one were to disappear, the other would follow the same path.